Our 6th wedding anniversary was supposed to be special. Not extravagant, just meaningful. Dinner at the same little Italian place where he'd proposed, maybe a walk by the waterfront after. But a week before the date, Mark came home from work with that apologetic look I'd come to recognize. "Babe," he said, loosening his tie, "bad timing. The company's planning a team offsite in Chicago that weekend. I can't miss, it's mandatory." I tried to smile. "On our anniversary?" He nodded. "I know. I'll make it up to you. It's just, the new VP wants everyone there." "You understand?" I did understand at least. I thought I did. Mark worked in corporate sales. Long hours, endless travel, constant pressure. I'd spent years being the understanding wife. But something about this one felt off. Maybe it was how he avoided eye contact when I asked where he'd be staying, or how he kept his phone flipped upside down during dinner, or how his assistant accidentally mentioned that the VP was a woman young, newly hired, and conveniently single. Still, I didn't say anything. I just packed his shirts, kissed him goodbye at the door, and pretended it didn't sting when he didn't look back. That night, I scrolled through old anniversary photos, him grinning at me under twinkling restaurant lights, holding my hand like I was the center of his world. Now, I wasn't even in his calendar. 2 days later, I was working from home when I got a message from my best friend, Kara. "Didn't Mark say his offsite was in Chicago? Because someone just posted a pic from the hotel bar he mentioned and it doesn't look like a team dinner." She sent the photo. It was blurry, but clear enough. Mark was there, laughing, leaning across the table toward someone with long blonde hair. The woman's hand rested on his dot. My stomach dropped. I didn't text him. I didn't call. Instead, I booked the next flight to Chicago. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story, because this time, I wasn't waiting for explanations. I was going to find out the truth myself, the next morning. My flight landed in Chicago just after 10 a.m. I'd told no one I was coming, not even Kara. I didn't want anyone trying to talk me out of it. My hands trembled slightly as I pulled my suitcase through the airport. The same way they used to tremble before a big presentation, except this time, the stakes weren't numbers or clients. It was my marriage. Mark had mentioned staying at the Grand Metropolitan downtown, a sleek, glass-walled business hotel overlooking the river, the kind of place where people pretended to be important. When I walked through the lobby doors, my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I told myself, maybe it was innocent. Maybe the woman in the photo was a coworker, a harmless moment caught out of context. But the truth was, a part of me already knew. At the front desk, a polished young woman in a navy blazer smiled. "Welcome to the Grand Metropolitan. How can I help you today?" I forced a calm tone. "Hi, my husband's staying here, Mark Davis. I wanted to leave him a surprise note for our anniversary." She typed something into her computer, still smiling. "Ah, yes, Mr. Davis. He's in one of our executive suites on the 14th floor." "Perfect," I said. "Could I send something up or maybe just slip a card under the door myself?" Her fingers hesitated above the keyboard. "He actually checked in with another guest. I'm not sure if they're both in right now." My chest tightened. "Another guest?" "Yes," she said, carefully neutral. "Ms. Taylor Green. They requested shared billing." For a moment, everything went blurry. The sounds of rolling suitcases, clicking heels, distant jazz from the lobby speakers, they all faded into nothing. Shared billing. He'd checked in with her. I smiled tightly, pretending to stay composed. "Right? I'll leave the note." Then the clerk nodded and handed me a small envelope for guest messages. But before she turned away, she added softly, "If you'd like, I can print a copy of the room invoice so you know what's been charged before it's finalized." I hesitated. "Yes, please." She printed a page, folded it once, and slid it discreetly across the counter. I took it, walked toward the lounge, and sat down in a quiet corner. When I opened the bill, my hands started to shake again. There, it was room 1423, executive suite, 3 nights, 2 spa treatments, Champagne service, for two. Dinner at La Lumiere, the same romantic restaurant Mark had taken me to for our honeymoon. The total came to $1,247, but the small handwritten note at the bottom was what stopped my heart. Happy anniversary, love. Same sweet as always. And it wasn't written in my handwriting. I sat there staring at that bill, my pulse pounding so hard I could barely think. The handwriting was delicate, looping, feminine, not mine. My throat felt dry. My fingers clenched around the paper until it crumpled. For a few seconds, I thought about walking away, just leaving the hotel, pretending I never saw it. But something inside me, something tired, raw, and angry, refused. I wasn't going to hide from the truth anymore. I smoothed out the invoice, took a deep breath, and headed for the elevators. The ride up to the 14th floor felt endless. I could see my reflection in the mirrored walls, pale face, tense jaw, eyes filled with something between heartbreak and fury. The doors slid open with a soft chime, and the hallway stretched before my quiet, carpeted, lined with gold number plates. Room 1423 was near the end. I stopped in front of it, my hand hovering over the door. I could hear muffled laughter inside, a woman's laugh. Light, familiar, almost practiced. Then came his voice. Mark C. was laughing. Something in me snapped. I knocked twice, hard. The laughter stopped. I heard footsteps, the creak of the latch. And then the door opened just enough for him to peek through. When he saw me, the color drained from his face. Claire, he stammered. What are you doing here? I held up the crumpled bill. Happy anniversary. For a second, he just stood there, frozen. Then he stepped into the hall, closing the door behind him, but not before I caught a glimpse of her, a woman in a silk robe, blonde hair tied up, holding a glass of champagne. Who is she? I asked, my voice low, controlled. He exhaled shakily. It's not what you think, really, because it looks exactly like what I think. Claire, please, just let me explain. It's complicated. Complicated, I hissed. You checked into our honeymoon suite with her. You used our anniversary as a cover for your little business trip. You told me you couldn't get away because of work. His eyes darted nervously toward the room. Can we talk somewhere else? I took a step back. No, we're talking here. The elevator dinged behind me, and a couple walked out, glancing curiously at us before hurrying away. The humiliation burned, but I didn't care anymore. I deserved the truth, Mark, right now. He ran a hand through his hair. Her name's Taylor. She's part of the marketing team. Things just happened. I stared at him, disgusted. Things just happened. Before I could say anything else, the suite door opened wider. Taylor leaned against the frame, smirking slightly. Mark, it's fine. She was going to find out eventually. And that's when I realized she wasn't just a fling. This had been going on for a long time. For a moment, the hallway felt like it tilted. Taylor's smirk. Mark's silence. The champagne glass glinting in her hand, everything blurred into a single, gut-twisting realization. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a moment of weakness. This was routine. I steadied my voice. So, how long has this been going on? Mark exhaled, shoulders slumping. Claire, don't make a scene, please. Let's just answer me. He hesitated. Taylor rolled her eyes. 8 months, she said casually, sipping her drink. Give or take, though, if you ask me, he's been unhappy a lot longer than that. Mark turned to her sharply. Taylor, no, she deserves to know, she said, her tone sharp but amused. He always said you were predictable, safe, the kind of woman who folds his shirts just right but doesn't understand him. The words hit like ice water. Mark rubbed his temples. That's not. I cut him off. You said that. He looked at me, guilt flickering behind his eyes. I didn't mean it like what? Like you were bored of the woman who stood by you through every late night, every promotion, every excuse. Taylor gave a light laugh. You really don't need to guilt him. It's not like he's leaving you for me. That made me pause. What? She shrugged, swirling her glass. Oh, come on. He's been stringing both of us along. You get the wife routine. I get the hotel weekends. But trust me, sweetheart, he's not the commitment type. He told me you'd figure it out eventually. Mark's voice cracked. Taylor, enough. But it was too late. The final piece fell into place. I wasn't just betrayed, I was replaced by a woman who already knew the game. I took a deep breath and reached into my purse. You know what's funny, Mark? I said, pulling out my phone. I wasn't planning to come here. But when I saw this, I held up the hotel invoice. I noticed something else. Mark frowned. What are you talking about? I unfolded the receipt and handed it to him, pointing at the bottom. See that handwritten note? Happy anniversary, love. Same sweet as always. He looked at it, face draining of color. I tilted my head. Here's the thing. That handwriting, it's not hers. Taylor's smirk faltered. Excuse me? I turned to her. It's not yours, is it? Because I compared it to her signature when she signed for the spa service. They're different. Completely different. Mark stepped back, voice barely a whisper. Claire, please don't. I ignored him. So, Mark, who else uses this suite with you? Taylor's eyes widened. What is she talking about? I let the silence hang. The realization hit both of them almost at once. Taylor's shock, twisting into anger. Mark's guilt, boiling into panic. Oh, I said softly. Looks like I'm not the only one you've been lying to. Taylor slammed her glass down on the floor, the stem snapping. You absolute coward. She spat at him. How many of us are there? Mark didn't answer. The hallway felt colder, suddenly heavy with truth. Heavy with disgust. And as Taylor stormed past me, shoving his shoulder hard, I looked at him one last time and said, You didn't just ruin our marriage. Mark, you destroyed your own reflection. Mark just stood there speechless, trapped in his own web of lies. The hallway that once seemed elegant now felt suffocating. The gold carpeting swallowing his excuses. He reached for me. Claire, please, let's go somewhere private. We can talk about this. I stepped back. Talk? You had 8 months to talk. You chose to lie instead. His voice cracked. It didn't mean anything. I made a mistake. No, Mark, I said quietly. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. What you did was a pattern. He ran a hand through his hair, eyes darting between me and the shattered glass on the floor where Taylor's drink had exploded moments earlier. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. You used our marriage as a shield. You wanted loyalty without honesty. You wanted comfort without consequence. He swallowed hard, glancing toward the door where Taylor had vanished. She meant nothing. I gave a bitter laugh. Apparently, neither did I. I turned to leave, but something on the floor caught my eye, the crumpled receipt. I picked it up slowly, smoothing it out again. The handwritten note stared back at me like a ghost from another life. Happy anniversary, love. Same sweet as always. A sudden thought hit me. I flipped the paper over, scanning the small details. The note wasn't from the hotel, it was written in a different ink, attached to the bill after printing. And the name on the payment card wasn't Mark Davis, it read, Robert Lane. Mark froze when he saw my expression. Claire, give me that. I stepped back. Who's Robert Lane? He went pale. It's my manager. Your manager signed the bill for your suite. I asked, voice tightening. Or are you just using his name for company-paid trips? His silence told me everything. I laughed, low disbelieving. So it wasn't just cheating. You were stealing from your company too. He reached out, desperate now. Claire, please, don't. But I was already recording. My phone had been in my hand since the elevator. Every word, every confession, every lie. I tucked the phone into my purse. You said it yourself, Mark, you'll make it up to me. Well, I guess now you will, starting with half of everything in court. The color drained completely from his face. You wouldn't. Oh, I would, I said. Because you taught me something tonight. The truth doesn't destroy people. Lies do. And with that, I walked away down the long hotel corridor, past the flickering sconces, and into the elevator. As the doors closed, I caught a final glimpse of him standing there alone, surrounded by the wreckage of his own deceit. When I stepped out into the cool Chicago night, I took one last look at the glowing hotel sign reflected in the river. The same hotel that once symbolized romance, now marked the end of a story built on pretense. And as I climbed into the cab, I whispered to myself, "Happy anniversary, Mark," because this time, the bill wasn't his to pay, was mine to close.